The first concert you guys ever went to? Put it in the comments. The very first music concert I ever went to was a band that none of you listening have ever probably heard of. A band called Humble Pie. I have barely even heard of them. You can barely even find anything on the internet about them. But when I was a door-to-door newspaper salesperson in a crew with a bunch of other kids my age, 14, 15, 16, and we worked at this job with our boss was this guy, John Ornelas. He was like in his 40s and an alcoholic. He drove a beat up old van. He'd pick us up and drop us off at all of our houses, take us to different neighborhoods around South Texas, and we would sell newspaper subscriptions. So on this particular weekend, he said if we sold a certain amount of subscriptions, he'd take us to this concert. And I was like 15 years old, had never been to a concert. I remember on the way there, I had a pair of handcuffs that I had bought from like a spy store, and they were real handcuffs. And I handcuffed my twin brother Michael and this other guy Jason Lafferty together on our way to the concert, and they were just like, and I wouldn't give them the key. I told them I didn't have the key, and they were just fighting with each other, just like uh, each of them were cuffed, and they were almost in a fist fight. And then finally, they made me unlock them. But the concert itself, Humble Pie, their most famous song was 40 Days in the Hole. So if you want to look up Humble Pie on the internet, their single that they had came out in the 1970s. This was in the 90s when we saw the concert. But their one song that got any traction was called 40 Days in the Hole. And John Ornelas was like an old hippie type. And so he knew he knew a lot about music. John Ornelas taught me more than any other adult in my whole life. And I really appreciate that for him. He wasn't the greatest guy, but he did teach me more than anybody else, any other adult when I was growing up. Part of the reason was because I was the number one salesperson in this newspaper job, and it was a commission based job. So I made him more money than any other young person as well. But John and Alice knew Humble Pie and he knew all the words. And I really enjoyed the concert a lot. Even though I wasn't familiar with the band, I got up really close and I could feel the music and the bass. And it was a really interesting experience. There were attractive women there. And, I remember meeting some of them and talking to some of them and even, you know,